Okay, so this is Dennis Nayer, the Director of Research, Development, and Training for the New York State Association of Chiefs of Police. Right now, I have the privilege of having a brief audio podcast with retired Chief Ron Glidden, who talks about leadership. He's the man behind Bulletproof Leadership, and he just did a great presentation for the State Association Chiefs of Police at our annual conference. So I have a few questions. So, Chief Glidden, thank you for being here.
Well, thank you.
So the first question that we're going to ask is, from a positive leadership perspective, what do you think is the most important thing for a police chief to do or not do to help maintain positive morale in his or her respective police agency?
Well, it would be hard to say that there's one thing. When I'm teaching my Bulletproof Leadership class, there's kind of like four primary areas that I think are essential for maintaining morale. And it starts off with building trust, trying to build up a trust account between the chief and his subordinates. Secondly, is accountability is certainly important. That's what we talked about today. And the third thing is just clear communications and doing what you can to almost over-communicate. And finally, show appreciation for the work that's being done at every opportunity. If I had to put all of that into one word, I think I would call it engagement, and just try to be more engaging with all your employees.
Well, it was excellent. As a person sitting there listening, I could see the nodding heads and the people who can relate. So everything you say hits the nail right on the head. The next question I'd like to ask is, in keeping with your philosophy of early intervention and following the 7-step process that you discussed in today's presentation about weeding out morale-killing behavior, what do you think a chief's success rate is in turning around a problematic employee when they follow that model?
I think if they followed it exactly as I explained it, I think there is a good chance for success, because if you stayed right on top of it, you had clearly identified the specific behavior that you observed that you didn't like, and you held the person accountable for that behavior with a performance discussion, a rather semi-formal discussion with the person, and then followed that up, there's no way possible that you couldn't get at least a minimum behavior that you wanted. Whether you can turn them around and make him a happy and positive employee, that's another matter. But you should be able to hold him to those minimum standards in any case. And if he chooses not to, we talked about weeding out behaviors, unless the person chooses not to follow your direction. And in some points, you may have to weed out the person as well.
And am I right in the assumption that everything you said can be tailored to whether you're from an agency that's large in size, medium in size, or small in size, because the dynamics and principles apply equally?
Absolutely. The problem employees that we talked about today, I've talked to supervisors from 3-person departments to up to 3,000-person departments, and they seem to all have the same problems, and the strategies for alleviating those problems are the same. The difference on a larger department is it may not be the chief that's taking care of it. You may need the sergeant to be doing some of the 7-step process that we talked about. On a smaller department, maybe it's the chief that's directly interacting with the person. So that would be the primary difference that I would see, is on a larger department, you're going to have more supervisors, and ideally they would kind of buy into this accountability process.
Well, as a follow-up to that, can you briefly describe for the listeners of this podcast the type of leadership courses you offer, how they can find out more about you, your company, and the training opportunities so that they can create the type of organizations that they want?
Sure. The easiest way to check out my presentation or my speaking business is go to my webpage, which is ronglidden.com, RONGLIDDEN.com. And it has all my contact information on there, and it gives a kind of an overview of the basic presentation, which the primary or most requested presentation is my Bulletproof Leadership presentation, which is a full day presentation that covers everything from the accountability we talked about today to some basic leadership strategies about building trust and being clear in your communications. And frequently people will ask, well, can you just, can I have a shorter one? Can you tailor make it? And the whole program is completely I have the ability to customize it. I've had people that have asked, can you just talk about performance evaluations, or can you just talk about accountability like we did today? And we absolutely can do that. But again, the primary program is the Bulletproof Leadership Program. And if anyone's interested, all you have to do is check it out on the webpage, shoot me an email at chief@ronglidden.com, and what I do is I send them a training proposal that covers all the bullet points that we cover, and it covers the fees, the training fees as well.
Well, on behalf of the State Association of Chiefs of Police, I would just like to say thank you. The presentation was on point. As a recently retired chief myself, I can say that everything you presented has complete relevance and value, and I think that all the listeners would definitely benefit from following up with that information. So thank you.
Thank you, Dennis.